Morning, all.
Hi, David.
Morning.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this March meeting of Bolsover District Council. Just to explain, I am this morning in the chamber accompanied by the leader possibly on my left as you look, and the deputy leader as you look on my right. The reason that I've had to come into the chamber this morning is because I had a complete BT internet failure yesterday afternoon, and they say it'll take at least 48 hours to fix. So I've had to come in this morning. That's why I'm in the chamber. Just to reassure everybody, myself, the leader and the deputy leader people. Thank you. And also, don't forget, please, to adhere to the usual rules about saying your name and who you represent. Thank you very much indeed. So now I will invite the governance manager to confirm who is in attendance at the meeting. Nikki, over to you,
Chair.
please.
And just before I do that, I just want to inform members that we're having a slight technical issue. The live stream has currently gone down. If you could just give us 30 seconds, I'll just confirm that's back up and running and we can continue. Thank you, members. The live feed is now back up and running. The only thing that was missed for the public was Councillor Munro's welcome speech. Are you happy for me to carry on, Councillor Munro?
Yes, please, if you would, just going through to identify who's in attendance, please.
Thank you, Chair. So at this meeting of Council, we have in attendance Councillor Derek Adams, Councillor Alan Bailey, Councillor Bowler, Councillor Bryson, Councillor Bullock, Councillor Cannon, Councillor Anne Clark, Councillor Nick Clark, Councillor Clifton, Councillor Clough, Councillor Cooper, Councillor David Dixon, Councillor Maxine Dixon, Councillor Dooley, Councillor Downs, Councillor Fritchley, Councillor Heffer, Councillor Hoy, Councillor Joesbury, Councillor Kane, Councillor Kirkham, Councillor McGregor, Councillor Mosby, Councillor Munro, the Chair of the Council, Councillor Yvonne Parkin, Councillor Graham Parkin, Councillor Peake, Councillor Roberts, Councillor Smith, Councillor Turner, Councillor Watson, and Councillor Wilson. Also in attendance today, you have both the Monitoring Officer, the Deputy Monitoring Officer, the Head of Paid Service, your Strategic Directors, Karen Hanson and Grant Galloway, Pam Brown, who's the Head of the Leaders Executive, your Section 151 Officer, Teresa Fletcher, and members of the governance team who are supporting this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Nikki. So we'll now move on, if we may, please, to the agenda. And the first item out on the agenda, please, is apologies for absence. So have there been any apologies for absence, please, Nikki?
Chair, we have apologies for absence received from Councillor Ross Walker.
Thank you very much. Does any other member have any other apologies on behalf of anybody?
Chair,
No,
I've just spoken to Jane Bryson and I think she's sent her apologies to Nicola.
Sorry, I couldn't catch the name, Councillor Joseph.
Jane Bryson, I think she's sent her apologies to Nicola.
Okay. We'll note those anyway. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Councillor Josbury. Much appreciated. Okay, we'll move on then, if we may, to declarations of interest. Members who have interests should have declared those to the governance manager in advance of the meeting. However, I'll ask again, does any member please have any interest they need to declare? If you raise your hand at this stage, please. No, that's fine. Thank you very much indeed. In which case we'll move on. So the next item on the agenda is my announcements, and I would like to make 3 announcements this morning, if I may, please. I'm advised that we may all indeed need to declare an interest when it comes to the council tax thing, but we'll take advice when we get to that agenda item from the monitoring officer. Okay, so I'll move on, if I may, now with my chair's announcements. So I, as I say, got 3 items to bring to your attention this morning. So the first one is that, as you may recall, my charitable cause for the current year is SAFA Bolsover. And despite not being able to fundraise as normal, I'm pleased to announce that to date, I have been able to pass on £500 to them to use to support their invaluable work with ex-service personnel. I'd also like to announce that on behalf of the council, I'm pleased to remind you about the launch of the community lottery, whereby community groups can sign up to be part of the lottery and receive regular income as a result. More information on this is available on the council's website, and I would ask all members to encourage the community groups in your community to actually get involved, because they can all benefit. And it's a rolling on process whereby, for example, if you're local, if you, for example, have got a brass band in your community, if they were to involve themselves and every member of that brass band was to buy a lottery ticket, then the brass band itself would benefit significantly on a weekly basis from the income from that. And it's really exciting. More information, as I say, is available on the website. There was a launch on the 1st of March that as many people as possible, I'm sure, did attend, but the numbers were relatively limited. So it'd be good to get that information out there. It's a great cause and something that will help a lot of our community groups. And finally, can I please ask all members to be aware that due to the change in contractor to in-house provision, there will be a delay of a couple of weeks before the commencement of the green bin collections. I'm quite sure a lot of your residents will be getting in touch with you, say, hang on a minute, I thought the green bins were going to be collected from such and such a date. Well, because we've had to bring the contract in-house because of problems that the contractor had, and in order to protect jobs, and that's one of the reasons why we did it, we're now going to be doing that service ourselves. However, there have been issues with bringing the vehicles back up to the correct standard of fitness, and once that's been done, the green bin collections will start again, roughly a fortnight after the date they should have started. So if you can just assure your residents, that would be very much appreciated. And that concludes my announcements this morning. So if we may, we'll move on to agenda item 4, which is the minutes of the last meeting. And the minutes of the last meeting in your papers are pages 5 to 16. So I am more than happy to move from the chair that they are a true record. Can I please have a seconder?
Councillor McGregor, I'll second that, Chair.
Councillor McGregor actually seconded it in the chamber. Thank you very much indeed. Are there? Sorry. Yes, Councillor. Yes. I believe Councillor Clough. Do you want to come in, Councillor Clough?
Yes, please, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Councillor Tricia Clough from Old Hucknall. Just to say that on page 9, the paragraph beginning Councillor Tricia Clough should actually end at the word Scarcliffe after Gardens in Scarcliffe. I've looked on the recording and I didn't actually say anything to do with the second part.
Okay, thank you. So did you get that, Nikki, please? So if you look on page 9, paragraph that starts Councillor Tricia Clough, you need to remove stated she would support the motion. It should just say Councillor Tricia Clough read correspondence. Have you got, are you all right with that, please?
Thank you, Chair.
The amendment has been seconded by the leader. So with that amendment, could all those please in favour of the minutes, please indicate by raising your hand. And we have got to do all votes by a show of hand this morning. So please be patient and keep your hands up until I'm assured that everybody has seen. So those in favour of approval of the minutes, please indicate now.
Clear vote in favour. And carried by acclamation, Chair.
Sorry, I couldn't catch you, Nikki.
Sorry, Chair, I said that would be carried by acclamation. The majority of members have voted for.
Thank you very much
for that.
indeed. Is there anybody wishes to vote against? I can't see any hand. Can't see any hands raised. Any abstentions? No. Thank you very much indeed. Right, if we may then.
Chair,
Yes, I'm sorry.
matters arising, please, Chair.
We don't actually have an item that's matters arising. That's not on the agenda. There is no matters arising.
Right.
Is there a Councillor Clark, is there an inaccuracy you wish to contest?
No, it's not an inaccuracy. I just wanted to ask if the letter had been sent out that was resolved on the end of the original motion on trail hunting.
Excuse me, we're not able to take that at this stage. You'll need to raise that in a different forum. Okay.
Okay.
There is no matters arising from minutes at full council meetings.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed. We'll move on then to item 5, which is questions from the public. There are no questions from the public. Item 6, questions from members. I can confirm that there are no questions submitted by councillors. And item 7, motions. No motions have been submitted this morning. So we now move on, if we may, to item 8, which is level of council tax. And I'd like to ask the monitoring officer to advise now on whether or not all members need to declare an interest on this item, please.
Thank you,
Sarah.
Chair. Thank you, Chair. Yes, your constitution requires you to declare an interest, but it doesn't prohibit you from speaking and voting. So what I suggest, Chair, is that if you're willing, we take a show of hands to show who's got an interest and deal with it that way.
Right. So would all members care to raise their hand to show they've declared an interest in this item on the agenda? Thank you. Right. I take it that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Right, we'll move on then if we can. I'm now going to invite the portfolio holder for finance and community safety, Clive Mosby, to present this report. Clive, over to you.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks very much, Ian. Morning, everybody. Hope you're all okay. I'm not going to speak much on this, so it'll be a bit of a pleasing sign, I suppose, most of you. But under the Localism Act of 2011, we're required to calculate the council tax for the coming year within it all. And in order to do that, we have to get in the precepts from the other authorities, such as Derbyshire County Council, Police Authority, Fire Authority, parish councils and stuff like that. And we've now received all those in at this stage. Earlier on in the minute, we agreed the minutes for February at the council meeting, and in that there's the medium-term financial plan in there. And it was agreed at that stage that the increase on a Band E property for Bolsover district would be 2.75% in it. And it also sets out other property levels, such as, you know, as the same say, police, fire, DCC, parishes, the different levels that they're all putting in to get to the main council tax increase across the board. I'm not really going to say much more on it because we've been through this many times. I'm happy to take questions, Chair. I'm sure 151 officer, if I can't answer, will help me on that score. But the recommendations are at page 22 at 6.1 and 6.2. And if there aren't any questions, I'll move them at the relevant time. So thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Mosby. First of all, are there any questions to the report? No, in that case, Councillor Mosby, as there are no questions, would you care to move the recommendations?
Yes, Chair. As I said earlier, I'll move the recommendations on page 22 of the report at 6.1 and 6.2.
Thank you very much indeed. And I believe the leader has indicated he wishes to second that. So that's been moved and seconded by the leader of the council. So if we may, we now move to a vote in accordance with the local authorities standing orders, England Amendments, Regulations 2014. This will be a recorded vote. So I'm now going to invite the governance manager to start a recorded vote. Please listen very carefully for your names and then vote.
Thank you, Chair. I'm actually going to take the recorded vote. As the Chair says, I'll read all your names out in order. And please give me your vote. Councillor Adams.
For.
Councillor Bailey.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can now.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Bowler. Councillor Bowler?
For.
Thank you. I think Councillor Bryson isn't here. So Councillor Bullock.
For.
Councillor Cannon.
Councillor Cannon, for.
Councillor Anne Clark.
For.
Councillor Nick Clark.
For.
Councillor Clifton.
For.
Councillor Clough.
For.
Councillor Cooper.
For.
Councillor David Dixon.
For.
Councillor Maxine Dixon.
For.
Councillor Dooley.
For.
Councillor Downs.
For.
Councillor Fritchley.
For.
Councillor Heffer.
For.
Councillor Hoy.
For.
Councillor Jersbury.
For.
Councillor Kane.
For.
Councillor Kirkham.
For.
Councillor McGregor.
For.
Councillor Mosby.
For.
Councillor Munro.
For.
Councillor Yvonne Parkin.
For.
Councillor Graham Parkin.
For.
Councillor Peake. Councillor Peake.
Again.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts.
For.
Councillor Smith.
For.
Councillor Turner.
For.
Councillor Watson.
For.
And Councillor Wilson.
For.
Have I missed anyone? Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Sarah. So the result is one opposed, the rest all for. We move on then, please, to item 9 on the agenda, which is the review of the Constitution. And I believe that the monitoring officer wishes to speak on this, but I believe also possibly the deputy leader wishes to speak. I'm going to invite the deputy leader, first of all, to introduce, and then the monitoring officer may wish to make a contribution. So over to you, Duncan. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor McGregor, Elton Ward. Colleagues, this report is really important and you'll see recommendations on page 24. I will come to them in due course. The Council is required under the Localism Act 2011 to prepare and keep up to date a constitution that contains its standing orders, code of conduct, other information that the Secretary of State may direct, and such other information that the authority considers appropriate. On page 28, you'll see on item 3, number 3, the reasons for recommendation that the Standards Committee have carried out the review, supported by the Monitoring Officer, the Deputy Monitoring Officer, and the Governance Manager, with a particular focus on certain areas of the Constitution that required attention. These areas have been thoroughly discussed, and the amendments proposed are recommended to Council for approval. It is required by law, colleagues, to keep an up-to-date Constitution. Part of the role of the Standards Committee is to review the document on a regular basis and make recommendations to Council as necessary. Unless the Monitoring Officer wishes to add further to that, Chair, I will move the recommendations in due course. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor McGregor. Sarah, did you want to come in and make an additional comment?
No, thank you, Chairman. I think the Deputy Leader has covered it, but if there are any questions, we can answer them.
Okay. So do any members please have any questions on item 9, the Constitution?
Yeah, Tom. Councillor Roberts, Whitwell Ward. Reviewing
you.
members' attendance at committee meetings on behalf of the authority. What does that mean?
Could you just repeat the question, because it
It's on
didn't,
page
it didn't
31.
come out clearly.
On page 31, reviewing members' attendance at committee meetings on behalf of the authority. What does that actually mean? What's it for? What purpose does it serve?
Chair, it's the Standards Committee monitoring the attendance of members as a way of a check and balance on attendance.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
But what does that mean? Is there going to be a league table? Is it going to is it for the public, or is it just for internal audits?
The reports to standards committees are generally public, so it will be in the public domain.
But James Watson and myself and various others have always we've been trying to put in things to get these committee meetings done at a time that's more convenient for people who work. Now, I will find it difficult to do most of these committees because they're in the morning. So my attendance will be shocking. And that's not quite fair when I'm actually at work. And it's not, we can't all be unemployed and pensioners and various other things to do, because that doesn't show a representative of the residents of our constituents. So what I'm asking is, why are we doing it? Because it's going to make me look bad, basically, top and bottom, and anybody else who works. So why have we put this in? Is it just to make us look bad?
Councillor Roberts, I can't answer most of what you said. It's not a matter for me, but in terms of why that is in the report, it is, as I said, it's a check and a balance and a monitoring of the attendance of members.
No.
Okay, I believe the Deputy Leader wants to come in. Duncan.
Yes, we do have accountability as elected members to demonstrate to the community that has elected us, Peter, to inform them on their behalf. We're putting their problems to the council or to get answers so that we can give them the correct answers to what the council is about. Nobody's trying to make you feel bad or anybody else for that matter. The only people that would make feel bad is if you don't attend themselves. But I will remind you that people do get a sum of money, public purse, for being a councillor, irrespective which sort of thing you have, whether you're a leader, deputy leader, or a member of the council. So we do have a responsibility of notifying the community of our attendance. We shouldn't be ashamed of that. We should be, I think that should be approved without any doubt. I'm not a member of the Standards Committee, but I understand why they've done that, and I fully support them doing that. The other matter is, this morning, you're in attendance, but you're on a Zoom meeting. So a virtual meeting, everybody else is on a virtual meeting. So you're not asked to be coming into the offices. So on a virtual meeting, everybody be able to attend. So I see no reason why this could cause any issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Duncan. Right, Councillor Tracy Cannon.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Cannon, South Normanton. Totally agree with Pete. I mean, yeah, Duncan, sorry, Councillor McGregor, you might not see why people this morning can't all attend. However, I am having to look after my grandchildren because of the pandemic and because of how situations are. My daughter's a nurse, for instance, so she's injecting at the moment. But, you know, situations are different for all of us. Yes, I know when we came into this, we knew what the situation was. And we've asked time and time again, can we please move on as a council and look at everybody's situation so that we can encourage more people to be councillors, not just the people that are retired. You know, some people, it's a passion. And I totally agree with Pete. We need to move forward and think of times that suit the majority of all our passions, not just the ones that can make it, not just the ones that are because of their situations. Ross this morning has to work. So can you please bear in mind that some people do at times struggle? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cannon. I believe the clause that we're talking about, looking on page 31, is the third bullet point, which, if I may read to you, says reviewing member attendance at committee meetings on behalf of the authority. At no stage is there anything pejorative or punitive in that statement. It's a statement of fact that attendance will be monitored, and that is a mechanism for responding and finding out why attendance at some meetings is less than it should be. And at that stage, presumably, that's when consultation will take place with members to find out what adjustments might be made to improve attendance overall. I don't see that this clause at bullet point 3, and I'm sure the monitoring officer or the deputy leader who are presenting this report will tell me if I'm wrong. I don't see that that presents a problem. It's merely a statement of fact that it will be reviewed, and that's a way of monitoring how it can be improved in the future. You wish to come back, Councillor?
Yeah, and the fact that monitoring our record analysis has always been in the public interest. It's always been there. There's never, nobody's ever had to sort of hide this. But I was coming back to what the deputy leader was saying. The deputy leader mentioned about, people on virtual meetings. There's no reason why they shouldn't be there. That is not the fact. And if what you're saying, Chair, then it's not relevant to the question either.
Thank you. Right, so it's been moved. Sorry, Councillor Natalie Hoy, my apologies. Councillor Hoy.
Thank you, Chair. I think that we're getting away from the fact of what we're actually voting on here. This is, to move this document forward. This is about accountability to the public. I think that the public are well aware of everyone's situations. I'm not retired, and I've got my daughter at home. I'm homeschooling, and I'd like to think that members of the public would understand that. But at the end of the day, we're here to represent the community, so we should be accountable to the community. So I'm happy to move the recommendation, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, can we move on?
Okay,
Right,
Councillor Mary Dooley, I think Councillor Downs needs to speak. He's had his hand up, and so has Councillor Clifton.
I'm sorry, would you repeat that, Councillor Dooley, because it wasn't clear?
Right, sorry. Councillor David Downs put his hand up in that debate.
Thank you very much indeed. Anybody else I missed? Councillor Clifton, did you say? Right, Councillor Downs.
Thank you, Chair. It's just in relation to what Councillor Cannon was alluding to about full-time working and working from home or working in general and not being able to get to meetings. I work full-time and it's for the NHS. And I knew that when I took this role on. It's part of what being a councillor is. You have to give time up. I understand that we get a remuneration for that. So if we're not at work, the remuneration that we receive helps towards that particular cost. That's how I see it when I put my hours in from work. When I lose hours from work, it's the remuneration that I get, the allowance that I'm paid as a councillor to help me support to do that. Thank you.
Is there any other councillor wishes to speak on this before we move on, please? I don't want to miss anybody, and I apologise if I had. Right, I don't see any hands raised and nobody's brought anything to my attention. Right, it's been moved by the leader and by the deputy leader, and it's been seconded on my right by the leader. We now move, if we may please, to a vote. So we're going to vote on this document by a show of hands. Please ensure you keep your hand raised so a proper count can be carried out. So all those in favour of the document, please show now by raising your hand. Right, thank you. Have you got those, Nikki?
I believe the vote is unanimous.
Right, are there, can I move on then to the next phase? Are there any against?
Chair, I can see a vote against.
You can see one vote against.
I
Are you
can.
sure that was a vote against and not a frozen internet? Can we take that vote against again, please? Are there any people against the document? Yes, I can see one against. Right, so the vote is all in favour except one against. I'm sorry, I can't tell you how many members have voted from this in this situation, but there's only one voted against.
Sorry, Chair, but could we take abstentions as well on this one?
Yes, are there any abstentions, please? I can't see any hands raised.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. We move on then, if we may please. After the review of the consultation, we now move on to the pay policy statement. And again, I would like to invite the Deputy Leader, Portfolio Holder for Corporate Governance, to present this report. Councillor Duncan McGregor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor McGregor, Elton Ward. Colleagues, the annual pay policy statement, as it quite clearly is stated on page 41 in the report. The pay policy statement sets out the council's policy on pay for senior managers and employees, and it is in accordance with the requirements of Section 38 of the Localism Act 2011 and Supplementary Guidance 2013. The conclusions and reasons for the recommendation is agreement to the annual pay policy statement fulfills both legal and best practice guidance for employers. It also reflects decisions previously approved at full council. The alternative option is not to have the annual pay policy statement, which has been rejected on the grounds of risk to the council of failing to fulfil legal obligations and best practice. You will see on page 42, colleagues, that on the recommendation, which is on 6.1, that I will certainly move at the appropriate time that the council supports the annual pay policy statement 2021-22. Thank you.
Before I move any further, do any members have any questions or points they wish to raise, please? I'm not seeing any hands raised, in which case it's been moved on my left-hand side by the Deputy Leader and seconded on my right-hand side by the Leader. So we will now move, if we may please, to a vote. All those in favour, please indicate by raising a hand. All indicate by raising a hand. Thank you. All those in favour, please vote.
Chair, I believe the vote is unanimous.
I think it is. Are there any votes against? My God, there's a lot. No, it's because it's freezing. There's a lot of internet freezing going on, and it's not members' fault. Good old BT. That's what some say. I don't.
There are no votes against, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Right. Are there any abstentions? No. Lovely. We'll move on then, if we may, to item 11. Item 11 is the calendar of meetings for 2021 to 2022. And again, he's having a lot to say this morning, I'm afraid to say. I'm going to invite the Deputy Lead and Portfolio Holder for Corporate Governance, Councillor Duncan McGregor, to present this report. Duncan, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor McGregor, Elmton Ward. You'll see, colleagues, the proposed calendar of meetings for 2021 to 22. And you'll see the recommendations are outlined on page 3. We do this every year, and there's some slight changes in there, but if any member wishes to ask any questions on it, please feel free to do so. Nikki will try to help and answer any questions that members may raise on the calendar. But I'll move the recommendations 1 and 2 when the chair allows me to move them. Thank you.
Right. Do any members, please, first of all, have any questions? I suppose the first question I'll ask, because I've actually received a paper copy of this. Have all other members now received a paper copy of the schedule of meetings? I don't see much of a response. Have people received a copy? Would you just nod your head and say yes or no? Would be helpful.
Chair, all members should have received a hard copy of
Okay.
the council.
In that case, can I be as bold as to ask you, please, Nikki, could I ask you just to clarify where member development gives 2 times, such as 10 a.m/3 p.m., could you just explain to members what that actually means, please? So there's some clarity for members when they try to put these dates in their diaries.
Yes, of course, Chair. As members will be aware, we're running a mid-term induction starting on the 10th of May this year. So this is halfway through your terms. It's a refresh of all the training that was given at the induction in 2019. Those member development sessions that you will see in there correlate to the mid-term induction programme, which will be issued to you shortly. Where there are 2 times in the schedule, that will be where there's an option for either or.
Right, so the 2 times is an option to either attend the morning session at 10 or the afternoon session at 3 p.m. Thank you very much indeed. I hope that helps members when they go through to put it in their diary, and then they can decide which of the 2 they're going to do. At one stage, I thought it meant all day, and I thought, can I cope? But I'm pleased to report you now have clarification. So having heard that, I'm now going to invite, there are no other questions, I believe. I'm now going to invite the Deputy Leader to propose.
Thank you, Chair. I propose the recommendations that the 21-22 calendar meetings attached at Appendix 1 be approved, and the points outlined in paragraph 2.4 and 2.5 be noted. And number 2, that the delegated authority be granted to the governance manager following consultation, the chairman of the relevant committee working groups, to amend the calendar of meetings 21-22 as and when required in accordance with the regulations of the Coronavirus Act 20 or any subsequent legislation that is applicable. I move.
Thank you very much indeed.
Councillor Ray Heffer, second, Chairman.
Oh, Councillor Heffer seconded. Thank you very much indeed. Right, we'll take a vote by show of hands again. All those in favour, please indicate by raising your hand. I repeat, all those in favour, please indicate by raising a hand. That looks pretty unanimous to me. Okay, I take it there's no one against then. Thank you very much indeed, members. Are there any abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you. So that concludes the agenda for this first meeting. So I don't have any other particular closing remarks except to thank you so far for your attendance. And I would like to suggest that we continue, if we may, with the live streaming still on and move on to the next meeting, which is the extraordinary meeting of the council. And I will start by reading out what I've got in front of me. That's to remind you that this is a public meeting and it's still being streamed live via YouTube to the council's website. The meeting's also being recorded. We know the live streaming is on. We've left it on. Likewise, members' etiquette still applies. Thank you. And again, if you wish to speak on an item, raise your hand and we'll make sure to bring you in. And if you do lose connectivity, please let one of the officers know and try and rejoin as soon as possible. So we'll start then and assume, under apologies for absence, that we have the same two apologies, namely Councillor Walker and Councillor Bryson. Is that correct, Nikki?
Yeah. May I further offer Councillor Liz Smith's apology? She's unable to attend this meeting and she has left.
Thank you. Right, so declarations of interest. Do members have members should by now have declared any declarations of interest to the governance manager in advance of the meeting. However, just in case anybody omitted to do so, does anybody wish to declare an interest in the item on the agenda? I don't see anybody, thank you. So item 3 is exclusion of the public. As the next item on the agenda is exclusion of the public, this part of the meeting has now come to an end, public. And I thank you for your attendance and your interest in the affairs of Bolsover District Council. And thank you very much indeed. And we will now ask, I will move from the chair that we exclude the public. Can I have a seconder, please?
Councillor Jones Brown.
Seconded on my right by the leader. All those in favour, please indicate. We're voting. Anybody? Please indicate. Right. Right. Thank you. Have you got everybody there, Nikki?
Yes, Chair. I think you may need to have
I'll come to that in a second. Are there any against? Are there any against exclusion of the public? That's
Chair,
one
I can see one
against.
vote.
Are there any abstentions? Then that is carried. Thank you. We'll just now ask Martin if he's disconnected the live